Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to a Sports Talks podcast whiteboard session. Just enjoying the good life. So I wanted to break out, and it's something that I do continually. Like I expand on the content that I create via Instagram at Coach Sportland. If you've not seen it, and like to do some whiteboard teachings, very short. Um, and today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about long accelerations and their effectiveness, and because they're really underutilized. So, a long acceleration is essentially the delayed exposure to maximum velocity sprinting. Essentially, what we're doing is extending out our rate of acceleration to create a very flat, gradual change in acceleration. So, for example, if we just look at this, just to break this down. So we just take this chart here and this graph, and if we call this, 60 meters. Okay, so traditionally, this is where the ideas come from. So roughly until Usain Bolt came and the exception to the rule, if we just go 100 over 60 meters in a 100-meter sprint race, this is where maximum velocity would be achieved because it's the delayed max. The reason why you need the delayed max is so you can have a better second half of the race. What that does is it gives you a constant gradual change in rate of acceleration. So why is that important? Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll show you. Okay, we're going to open this out. Now, when we look at delayed acceleration, we understand why that's important because it's how long it takes for us to achieve maximum velocity is then going to be the distance and the we don't have to manage acceleration decay. So what this allows us to do, put our training hat on. So we take that 60-meter mark and we put our coaching program up and we put 100% here. Okay, that's 100% of maximum velocity. Now, traditionally, a short acceleration curve, 10 meters, is going to do that. It's going to have a massive decline, massive spike, massive decline, and then you'll get a mid. And then, as we talked about, you'll get a long. Okay. Now, relative to each areas of the peaks of these curves, you're going to be finding a different intensity of maximum velocity. So you're going to get there faster. What that means is for every if we take this for the red, for every step that we're achieving in this portion, okay, in this 10-meter acceleration, as a percentage of effort, it's going to be so high. And as a percentage of intent, it's going to be so high. But when we've got this curve, that is going to be reduced. So call that a 20-meter acceleration. And we're roughly, for argument's sake, it is going to be a little bit higher. So excuse my drawing, because usually in about 20 meters, most people can hit, team sports can hit 80% of their maximum velocity. But then the problem that you find within team sport athletes is none of them, and not a lot of these athletes, have a Scooby of how to actually achieve maximum velocity sprints. We measure running fast, but we don't necessarily train to athletes to achieve maximal speed. Very different things. Okay, so where does long acceleration come in here? Really simple. So let's, argument's sake, a long acceleration is a gradual exposure to higher percentage sprinting. And there's the bit underneath. All right. So we take this as 100%. And the bit underneath is I'm going to talk to you about right now. It's the bit under the curve, which is so important because there are different phases. Okay. And what we're going to do actually is we're going to draw a Z axis on this side. Okay. And if I can just move myself, yeah, we draw a Z axis here because what we're going to be doing is looking at a secondary 100% scale, and that's going to be ground reaction force. And if we know the vertical ground reaction forces at maximum sprinting are the highest that you can achieve relative to lower, then we're looking at training load via impulse. Okay, So the training load via impulse is really, really important, because what's that going to do from a tenderness response, a muscular response, and all those sorts of things. So as you're going through these phases, and we have in team sports, sports speed system right here. So we've got steps 1 to 3, we've got steps 4 to 7. Okay, 1 to 3 is going to give you 5 meters. The 4 to 7 is going to give you 10. Anything up to 15 steps could take you out to 20 meters. And then after those 15 steps, 60 meters, there or there. So, you are looking anywhere to the 30 step range, maybe a bit more, depending on the speed that you can achieve. So all of these areas under here are going to, these steps are going to cost us different levels of impulse and different levels of ground reaction force. So we measure these rates and we monitor these rates, but we don't train to them, because we are essentially limiting our potential exposure. Because for us to achieve X speed at 5, 10, or 20, for example, that is reliant on a technical ability to actually tap higher percentages as quick as possible, So that's the name of the game, is speed. So what we do here is, with our, let's just remove some of this stuff, with our long acceleration, what you're actually able to do is you're able to control, okay, you can control the rate at which that acceleration can occur, to the point at which we hit 80%. And we know that 80% of maximum velocity is going to roughly equate, for a given technical mastery, so someone who can half sprint, for example, is going to probably be in and around a 10% swing of 80% of the ground reaction force maximally able to achieve in that given time period. Because remember, the faster we get, the shorter time we have on the ground to create impulse. So every step that we go through, what we're doing is we're creating a subsequent load. And that's the most important thing. So this area here is really, really important. And that's going to be from like 30 to 60 meter. That's a real, essentially a submax fly 30. That's there for technical, but it's faster than tempo running, extensive linear tempo running, slower than maximum velocity, but are the sweet spot for a window of opportunity. Because this graph that I get blue in the face talking about, this is being our level of preparedness. This is being the level of motor learning here, and the intensity. We are opening up this window and this window and this window as we go through. It's the upside down of here. And so that first window is the long accelerations. And what I advise in how you program and start using your long accelerations, they can extend from the learn to train, training to train elements. So learning to sprint, training to sprint elements, and will then gradually build. And framework 3, I think, of the sports speed certification goes through this in the way of, we're looking to find speed first. And our first port of call for any team sport athlete is actually learning how to find our higher gears. So that is an insight and a deep dive into the first level of how we can use long accelerations, and why you aren't using, and why, if you're not using them, you should be programming them in now. This is such an easy win and a gateway for so many speed improvements that I get with my athletes all over the world, in person and remote. And it doesn't matter whatever level, because most people are starting right at the beginning of their speed journey, because unfortunately they've never been taught. So if you're a coach, take this forward. If you're an athlete, take this forward. Go practice. If you need my help, send me a message, Coach Sportland, Instagram, wherever. Send me an email, sam@coachsportland.co.uk. Whatever, comment on this video. Do what you need to get hold of me, because I'm happy to help. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.